Don Carter Lane's shooting suspect Duke Webb wants a new judge overseeing his case. Joining us now is WIFR's Mike Garrigan, who is at the courtroom when the decision happened. Mike, could you tell us what happened and what went down when you were in the courtroom?
Sure, there were some significant develops, I would say, but it was kind of a chicken and egg type scenario here. I should say I was the only media in the courtroom. There were no cameras allowed in the courtroom, so we may show you some video. That's all file video of past trials involving Duke Webb. But as for this trial, it started at 11:18. Webb came in a yellow Winnebago County jumpsuit. He was handcuffed. They took the cuffs off because he was representing himself at this hearing before Judge John Gibbons. And he was cleanly shaven. We haven't seen that too often. He also had dark hair as he prepared for this hearing. It lasted until 11:45, so 27 minutes. So there were two basic goals of this hearing. The first one was a motion filed by Duke Webb to have Judge Gibbons recused and disqualified from the trial. The other one, though, stemmed back from a December 10th hearing where he wanted a little bit more time to find out if he could find some private representation. He came without any of that. He said he's still trying, but he hasn't secured it yet. So then they said in the last hearing that this would be his last chance. So they, again, had the option of him if he wanted a public defender, represent himself, or have a private attorney. Now, mind you, he can get a private attorney down the road at any time. So he said, I was still looking for a private attorney, but I don't want to delay the trial any longer. So Duke Webb said if it was a decision between just a public defender representing himself, he was going to represent himself. So, okay, but the problem is there was some gray area, and Judge Gibbons wasn't sure if he could rule on that because there was also a motion for him to be recused. So he thought that should be the next step. All of this too, it's interesting too, because in order to file a motion to recuse, you have to waive your right to an attorney, which Duke Webb hadn't done yet. So all of that situation, they thought the best way to move forward was to have another judge, because you can't see yourself, you can't rule on your own recusal. It has to go to another judge. So Judge Deborah Schaefer will now see Duke Webb at a hearing on February, let me look at that date again, February 5th at 10 o'clock. It's January, I'll have to get you that court date here. I know I have it done. January 27th, I'm sorry, at 9 a.m. Judge Deborah Schaefer will then rule in that hearing. The only issue will be whether or not Schaefer feels that Judge Gibbons should be recused from this trial and disqualified from this trial. That's unlikely to happen. So then the next step would again be going back and setting up another hearing to see if Duke Webb again will waive his right to attorney and officially defend himself, and also, or if he will go with the public defender. So all of that has to be decided. One other thing that came up in this hearing is the prosecutors showed an article from the New York Times that was just published a few days ago, and it had Duke Webb talking about the alleged murders and about his trial, and that violated an order from a previous court hearing that no one was supposed to talk about the trial, especially if he was representing himself. Now, Duke Webb said that interview happened before that order was made. So Judge Gibbons declined to rule on that at all until he found out whether or not he would be recused from this trial. So I know it's very complicated. The things we need to know: January 27th is a net court appearance for Duke Webb, who at 9 a.m., and that will be to decide whether or not Judge Gibbons will remain the judge for this trial. A little bit of background, if you don't know, that Duke Webb is a suspect of that 2020 fatal mass shooting at Don Carter Lanes in Rockford. It happened the day after Christmas. And Webb is a former Army sergeant from the U.S. Army, Green Beret, accused of killing Thomas Furseth, Dennis Steinhoff, and Jerome Woodfork. 3 others, including 2 teenagers, were shot. They have all since recovered. In June of 2024, Gibbons ruled that Webb was mentally fit to stand trial. There was some testimony with conflicting doctor evaluations as to Webb's mental fitness, but the judge decided he was fit to stand trial. And all this other delay has been on whether or not who will represent Duke Webb at trial. So we're getting a little more closer to it. And again, Duke Webb kept saying in his hearing today, representing himself, that he does want to get this resolved and get this trial going as fast as possible. So that's the story of a very complicated hearing, but some developments, and we do know that the can has been kicked just a little longer, with the next hearing being January 27th. So that's what we have here, Jake. I am live here at Courtroom D in the Winnebago County Justice Center, and reporting for WIFR News.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. And of course, thank you so much for being there in the courtroom right there live and getting us that information as soon as possible. And of course, just like what Mike did say there, coming up at 9 a.m., January 27th, that is Duke Webb's next scheduled court appearance.